Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing. I'm your host, Glenn Thayer, and today we're going to discuss part 2 of the 10 things all websites should do. Joining me today is the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Thomas Young, and web marketing guru, Dennis McCarthy. Well, guys, in the first podcast, or should I say the last podcast, we did engaging visitors, converting the visitor, driving traffic, make sure that we're not making them think, getting people excited to tell others, and now we're going to do the last 5. Let's start with user testing.
Absolutely. User testing is going to definitely make the top 10. All websites should have some form of user testing, and we've done a few podcasts on this, so we're not going to get into a lot of detail about user testing, but it's a very simple process of putting someone in front of your website and asking them to do tasks. Don't ask them what they think, because they'll tell you it looks fine. But ask them to do a task and watch how they maneuver around the site.
And if you're looking for concrete tools for that, on the Windows side, we have a product called Camtasia, which allows you to watch people as they interact with the screen, and also carries video of them. And what's the Mac product, Tom?
ScreenFlow.
ScreenFlow for the Macintosh.
ScreenFlow, yes.
And this is something that on the other end is people will also know those two products if they're doing any type of online training. Both those products are really touted for a lot of the online training tools for tutorials and whatnot.
Exactly.
But it's awesome for user testing.
And we just can't stress user testing enough. You can have 50 internal meetings, and you'll get less out of that than you will out of 5 user testing sessions. Take people and do it with target market. Take them out for a cup of coffee and have them interact with your website. You'll be amazed at the intelligence you get.
Well, as far as user testing, I just want to clarify for everybody as far as how many people should they be doing for user testing? Because some people say, you know what, I just don't have the time. I need to get my website up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a handful of
people. That's a mistake.
You know, we found that 5 to 7 people will find a good 80% of the issues with the site. And 5 to 7 people will certainly find the most important issues around conversion and that sort of thing.
What sort of tasks should these user tests, what should they be doing during the user tests?
Well, what's the most important thing you want people to do on your website? Ask them to do it and see how easy it is for them to do it. Evaluate our company and tell us how you would contact us.
Ask them what the website is about. If they look at your logo and your tagline and they still have no idea what you do, you've got a problem with your logo and your tagline.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as recommending people who you should be using, it definitely seems like we should not be using anybody that is close to the company.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, yeah. You definitely, in fact, you want to be in a neutral location, too, because even bringing people into the company office and doing user testing there has a bias toward it.
Just going to Starbucks, taking them out to coffee or something, if you've got somebody that you're trying to do user testing in a smaller group, like smaller companies, sole proprietorships, small companies like that, take somebody out to coffee. That'd be a good idea instead.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
if you've got the budget, I mean, do a focus group or a large
focus
format
groups, or use a actual user testing lab. It can get kind of pricey, but that might work too.
Or even a hotel. Even a conference room in a hotel.
Conference room. Yep. And once you've done the user testing, I think it's also important to realize what our number 7 is here, which is what works online and what works offline. Now, our podcasts have been almost exclusively about online marketing, but we got to keep in mind that some of your most qualified visitors come from what you do offline, and so the site has to work well for both groups, whether they're coming from Google or whether they're coming from the fact that they just saw your ad in a magazine or heard about you from a friend, or saw you at a trade show or a seminar or conference. All that has to be integrated. And
if you can control what page of your website they land on from these external places, you should. Don't just send people to your home page if you're doing a special campaign. Send them to a page that's specifically designed. It takes more time, but it's worth the effort.
Yeah, we've just recently ran a campaign where we did a / and people heard an ad on the radio, and it said the URL.com / and then it had a 4-letter word that was there. It was pretty simple to remember, right? But it had very few people click through there. So we're probably guessing that it's going to work better if you had a designated URL. So getting people to come in from offline on a special offer or to a designated page, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. They want to go to the home page, and they don't always remember.
So instead of setting up the / you would map a subdomain, for example.
Map a subdomain.
Specialoffer.mywebsite.com or something like that.
That's right. And keep in mind, your company name should also be your website name. And if you don't do that and you do offline marketing, you're just going to confuse people. You know, our company is called Intuitive Websites. Our domain is intuitivewebsites.com. You know, we're not called Intuitive Websites, and then we don't have a domain that's intuitiveweb.com. You've got to be consistent there, because when you do offline marketing, people just don't remember. And also with the whole question around the .com, the .org, the .biz, and that, people go to .com websites. That's where they go. So if you do .biz, .us, .whatever, they're going to still end up on the .com site.
Well, that leads to an interesting question, Tom. I've had a couple of smaller clients that the first thing I notice is that their company name has absolutely nothing to do with what they do.
Yeah.
And what's your thinking on that? Should they change their company name?
Well, that's a branding issue. And if we're talking about offline advertising to go to a certain domain, they're going to follow the path that's the least amount of work and effort. So if they see in the ad that it's all about bicycles, they want to go to allaboutbicycles.com. They don't want to go to another website that's called mountainbikesandmore.com. You know, so you've got to be consistent there. All you'll end up doing is driving traffic to your competitors, which we've seen in many cases. We've seen that happening.
How do people overcome that? Because in this age of domains, most of the domains have been purchased, as far as most of the regular domains that are out there.
So you've got to get creative. We're launching a series of websites that are called, that's under the domain 4stepprocess.com. And I thought, well, 4-step process, that's for sure has got to be taken. Well, it was, all the different variations were available. So you've got to get creative. And the web is important enough that you've got to find something that's a match, and keep looking till you find it.
Now,
or you can use like an add-on. We're Intuitive Websites. We're launching a website on usability, so we use the word intuitive to give us a unique URL, intuitiveusability.com. So those little add-ons help you a lot with being able to get the domain names.
Now, you were talking about the subdomains, using subdomains. Some of our listeners might not understand what a subdomain is if they're driving traffic to that. Can you go into that just a little bit without getting too technical into exactly what that is, so people can understand what you were talking about?
It's just a way of creating a URL that people can use to go to a folder on your website. So you call your hosting company and you say, the folder called Special Offer, I would like to map a subdomain to that folder. So instead of them having to go to mywebsite.com/special offer, they would go to specialoffer.mywebsite.com. And that's what you would publish in your advertisement.
The thing about websites is that if you look at the most effective websites on the internet, they're also doing really well offline. People talk about them offline. There's ads for them offline. So you've got to be able to do that if you have a great website. The other thing, which is important, is that the website has great ROI. In fact, I would make the point that the website and your web marketing would have the best ROI of any of your sales or marketing efforts if you do it right. I think that's still the case. A lot of this has to do with the fact that people really don't know how to market on the web. They don't know how to use their money effectively and wisely.
So that's number 8, right, Tom? Get excellent ROI.
Get excellent
ROI. And what does that mean? Does that mean sales? Does that mean leads? Does that mean newsletter signups? What does that mean for people?
Yeah, it's the conversions. It's all about the conversion. So if let's say if you're doing direct e-commerce sales, then the ROI basically is how much do you spend and how much do you make in sales. If you're doing leads, then how many leads are you getting and what percentage of those leads convert into business? And one of the most important things about ROI is average order amount. You've got to know that. And if you don't have a sense of what your average order is, then it's hard to measure ROI, because so much of it is based on how much money it costs to bring in traffic. How does that traffic convert? And you've got to know what the average conversion is so you can measure it back to the beginning of what it cost you to drive the traffic.
And I think a lot of people underestimate the value of the newsletter signups. I know a couple of companies, and the number one goal of their website is to create a giant email list. And then they have all this leverage for new offers and programs and things like that.
Oh, and the long-term best benefit of a customer. I mean, you might say, oh, well, it cost us $100 to get that sale, and we only make $200 on our average sale. So, are we really making money here? Well, but you've got to think about, well, what's the average lifetime revenue from that customer? So it costs you $100 to get that customer, and you might, over the course of time, make hundreds of dollars from that customer.
That's how many purchases is that customer going to make?
That's right. That's exactly right. And then then it ties into number 9, which is be the best in your field. And what we like about the internet is it's so easy to be the best in your field, because just go look at who you're competing with and do it better than they're doing. And find out some of the things that they do the best, copy those with your own slant, and then do them one better. Be the best in your field.
Mm-hmm. Look at your competitors, look at their best practices, and emulate them.
That's right. And it's funny because we've written dozens of marketing plans for the web. And those plans always include a competitive analysis. And we almost always say in our plans, there are great opportunities for you to be a leader in this field.
Or the leader.
Because the websites are usually so poor. And in many cases, it's a lot of the stuff we talk about in this podcast. Too much information, no clear message, no clear way to convert, and all those things.
No optimization.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a critical one. The best websites out there are the best in their field as well.
And what about media?
Media, and that's number 10. And then I think that this is a great area of growth for the web. Good websites are content rich. And when I say content rich, I mean all kinds of media. Not just the written word, but they're also getting into the video, into the audio areas, into slide presentations, interactive presentations, flash presentations. Not that these things are the website, but they are critical components of the content in the website. And I think really there's a place for video and audio now on every website, no matter what kind of service or business you're in or products you have.
I found something really, really interesting as far as video on the web, because
Yeah.
a lot of the big thing right now that I've seen on a lot of websites is this walk-on video, where people walk in, they might be white background or green screen, so they look like they're standing on your page and they're talking to you.
Right.
Which is all great for about 30 seconds, but then you want them to just
Go away.
shut up.
It's nice the first time, and it might even have a wow factor, but the second, third, and fourth time, it's like super irritating.
It's like Clippy for Microsoft. You see him the first time and you think it's neat. Then you realize that he's slowing down your system to a crawl, and you don't want to see Clippy ever again.
Exactly. But I've seen some, and I've seen this, but I've seen some variations, and even some professional speakers might have their speaker video, and you can see it on the homepage. I found something interesting yesterday. I was on a website for a professional speaker, and it said, hear about Kim's life. And you click on it, and they had a JavaScript that grayed out the screen, and this video popped up right in the center. And it was a flash video, and it was her talking to you. And you could close it out at any time, and it just goes right back to the website.
Yeah.
And it didn't take up any real estate on the homepage.
Yeah, that's a great tool. I'm starting to see more of that, and the reason they're doing that is because everyone's blocking their pop-up windows. So,
And there's a good one. There's a good one out
technology
there.
has changed.
There's a good one out there called Rockbox. ROKBOX.